And we are back with the GSMC Wrestling Laureate podcast brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. Just kind of reflect on what we talked about real quick. We talked about our WWE NXT review. We had our AEW Dynamite preview, and now we're going to jump on into the future media rights of WWE Smackdown and WWE Raw. But before we get into that, I want to remind you guys to use the tips and donations link at the GSMCpodcast.net. Tell me what you like, tell me what you don't like. Give me some things about wrestling that you want to see. Give me ultimately your take on NXT. Let me know who you think's going to win out of Trick, Javon Evans, Ethan Page, and Sean Spears. Let me know who you think's going to win the WWE Money in the Bank men's and women's ladder match heading towards Saturday in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. So yeah, don't be too shy to hit up that that chat link. Honestly, there are no wrong answers. No one's gonna look at it and be like, "This." No one thinks that. No one thinks that at all. So it really does help the show, guys. Here at the GSMC Sports Network, we do love a lot of peace, love, and positivity. 110%. Remember to Superman punch that like and subscribe button to the show. Always, always, always. And yeah, follow us on the Wrestling Laureate podcast and also on the GSMC Sports Network. So let's do it. We have the future of WWE and Friday Night SmackDown. But before we do that, I'm just kidding. No, right? That was be like, dude, are you gonna do this again? No, I'm just kidding. So let's start with WWE SmackDown. So WWE SmackDown is going to be on the USA Network. SmackDown finally comes home to the USA Network. They stick there. The USA Network and WWE has been such a beneficial relationship for the longest time. The longest time. That was where, there was Monday Night Raw. I believe SmackDown kind of touched on it. And SmackDown's kind of been everywhere. I think it was on UPN. I think it was on the USA Network. I think it was on Sci-Fi. Even on Sci-Fi. That's crazy. I don't even know if that channel's around anymore. That's insane. But now it's the home of WWE SmackDown. The reason why and potential of WWE SmackDown is kind of have it there. Just to overall, on Fox, it's a little dicey. It is a little dicey. Obviously, Fox is like mainstream television. You're not really going to be able to say the stuff. You're not going to be able to show blood. You're not going to be able to do certain, nonverbal gestures in terms of trying to piss off your opponent. So I like it. I like how WWE SmackDown is moving to USA. Furthermore, I do not want SmackDown to kind of falter like WCW did. Sure, once when Raw, we'll talk about Raw in a little bit. But once when these two shows move on to a network where you can be like, oh yeah, we can finally do blood and edgier content, and talk about a little more crazy verbal language and stuff like that. That shouldn't propel you guys, or that shouldn't be able to kind of persuade you or kind of give you any initiative to be like, all right, we're gonna do this kind of like WCW did it back in the day. The reason why, and this is my opinion, 1010%, the reason why I feel like WWE is so popular is that you have that. You have that golden, you kind of have that golden ticket, not ticket, I don't know how to say it. You have that golden genre that that you're supposed to appeal to, the ages of 18 to 37. Huge wrestling fans. From the age of 18 to the age of 37, you see the biggest wrestling fans in the world. But what about wrestling fans who are learning to be wrestling fans? Like, what about like little kids and stuff like that? That's something that you've seen John Cena do so well within the WWE. That's the reason why John Cena is definitely one of the best professional wrestlers in the world. It's because he was able to go out there. That's the reason why he has the record for, Make-A-Wish Foundation, granted wishes. Over 650 granted wishes from John Cena. It's because you got to talk to future generations. It's not so much like WCW, also AEW now, who try to pander to the crowd a little bit. Obviously, on AEW, you have Mariah May, Tony Storm, Mina Shirakawa making out and like doing, it's crazy and it's a little edgy. And, from a man's perspective, Just kidding. No, I'm just, definitely not sexist like that. But I just want SmackDown. I just want Raw. I just want WWE to be just careful. Be a little careful, man. Louis Billy Grosso, where you're kind of headed toward there. So NBC Universal and the WWE have agreed to a 5-year domestic media rights partnership beginning October of 2024. So for a small time, you will see SmackDown, you will see Raw on the same network. Kind of crazy, kind of insane. You know, I don't know. It's just kind of crazy. President of the WWE, Nick Khan, had this to say. He said, and I quote, NBC Universal has been a tremendous partner of the WWE for decades. We are excited to extend this long-standing relationship, bringing SmackDown to USA Network. That's cool. I love that. I definitely think that's, something, although you know, I'm a huge fan of football. Who is the NFL is probably one of the biggest sports in the world. Well, not in the world, because I feel like soccer is a little more prominent. Don't quote me on that. But in terms of America, in terms of the United States, football is football is king. The NFL is king. You have games on Fox. You had, not Tony Romo. I think that's CBS, Tony Romo and Jim Nantz. On Fox, well, you used to have, Joe Buck and Troy Aikman. But then now I think you have who's the guy with the big forehead? I can't think of his name. He was a former tight end. Olson, Greg Olson. You have Greg Olson and his partner. I don't know who it is. Obviously, hit it up in the chat if you know who it is. Um, I think Greg Olson's going to be replaced by Tom Brady. So you could have had Tom Brady be for just a little bit and be like, dude, like go in and check out WWE Smackdown on Raw. No, that's not how he sounds, but I'm just, that was a bad impersonation. I'm sorry. Any of you have Patriots fans, Buccaneers fans, Tom Brady fans, I apologize. But I think it's going to kind of hurt the WWE. And that's just my opinion. I feel like once when it was on once when it was on NFL, Fox, Sunday, game of the week, you paid attention to it, you're like, oh shit. Wrestling's still on. WWE is still part of this, entertainment conglomerate that is the world. Of course it is. But a lot of these, NFL, heads, a lot of these football, kind of brains, they're like, oh, I didn't know WWE was still around. So, I feel like overall it might hurt WWE just a little bit, but that's it could be crazier. It could be crazier, like I said, could be crazier. So next we have WWE Raw. WWE Raw is moving toward Netflix January of 2025. Raw has been aired since January of 1993. They had a 31-year deal with the USA Network. This is the first time a wrestling show hits a streaming service. They had a $5 billion deal with Netflix. That's huge. Absolutely huge. 110%. And it's, there's this new era of the WWE, which we're going to talk about. I think I have a segment tomorrow about it. There's something big that's going to happen. There's something big that WWE NXT, SmackDown, and Raw kind of needs to do. Obviously, there's speculations that WWE NXT will start going on the road on the CW network. That starts in October of 2024. But this is just something that wrestling fans need. I don't want to say need, acknowledge me. No, that they need to acknowledge is that wrestling is kind of at this point where I do not want to say, because I feel like wrestling has been so successful within years and years and years within cable networks like Fox, the USA Network, UPN, CW, all that. But wrestling has a chance to be seen by more eyes. And that's important. Indeed, that is important. But at the same time, it could kind of lead to things that kind of create scrutiny, kind of creates criticism. If you're a wrestling fan right now, and if you do not know it's choreographed and scripted, then I don't want to say you're an idiot, but I'm just kidding. Like if you play that kayfabe, like, dude, that's awesome. That's 1,010%. but there's going to be a lot of people dabbling on it. WWE's kind of, they're reaching out. They're reaching out to try to grab new audiences and stuff like that. Obviously, kind of since they merged with TKO Holdings within the UFC, they've kind of went out of their way a little bit, and they're like, look, now we're going to start appealing to audiences that kind of seem a little foreign to us. You had the NFL on Fox, you had WWE. It worked out pretty darn well, especially with the NFL kind of producing the XFL, ran by the Dwayne The Rock Johnson. So you had that little bit of a partnership there. Kind of like kind of like that thing where you kind of excel in this life. It doesn't matter what you know, it's who you know. But I feel like WWE at this time is heading toward a delicate state. It's going to be on Netflix. It's going to be kind of crazy. Not a lot of people are going to be like, oh, I'm just going to get Netflix to get WWE. Like, who does that? Wrestling fans do, hell yeah. But, I honestly don't like Rock moving on to a Netflix service. I don't. I like him on a USA Network. Sure, once when they are on, Raw, WWE CEO Triple H said that WWE won't have to censor inappropriate or explicit audio or video content. Overall, it would, kind of be edgier content, and that's cool and all. I get that, but I feel like WWE kind of has this niche audience. You kind of want to pander to future generations. I know there's that big market demographic of age 18 to 37, 39. But I don't know. Only time will tell. Only time will tell with WWE. Only time will tell with WWE Raw on Netflix. Only time will tell. I feel like SmackDown on the USA Network would do really well. I feel like that's not really an issue, although there is problematic because I feel like the NFL does. You watch the NFL on Fox, and they're like, oh. So, you hear Joe Buck's voice. Once Joe Buck did it, he was like, oh, tune into, WWE Smackdown happening on Friday night. But now you're not going to have that anymore. Now you're not really going to have these, it's going to be crazy to see the viewership increases and decreases. Honestly, I can't wait. I can't wait to see what happens next. All right. So our next segment, we're going to talk about why is there not a WWE Tag Team Money in the Bank? We're going to dive deeper into the subject matter in just a moment. So, hey, do not go anywhere.